Hey and welcome to this new episode of The DOORhof is Always Open. Now, in this episode I have two great interviews for you and a behind the scenes video, including commentary, for a photo shoot we did for Whair hairdressers. Now, a lot of people email me about the behind the scenes videos. Man, I really love the instructional videos on The DOORhof is Always Open. Well, to be totally honest with you guys, those videos are just behind the scenes videos and they are already packed with information, of course. But if you want real instructional material that gives you way more information and is much more intense, go to our website and go to the one-click video download ordering system. And you will see the website here. Now, talking about great instructional videos, we just released an amazing new one. It's over 3 hours in length. It covers everything from posing the model, getting the story, choosing the right gear, including 2 Q&As, and for me the first time in an instructional video, a lot of Photoshop and Lightroom tips. It's called Live in New Jersey, and again it's over 3 hours of material. And well, let's see the trailer now, and after that enjoy the interviews we did during the SWPP and of course the behind the scenes video with commentary from Whair hairdressers. Enjoy this episode of The DOORhof is Always Open and see you next time. Hey, my name is Frank DOORhof and I'm very proud to introduce to you our new instructional video called Live in New Jersey, Fashion with a Glamour Twist. Now, during photo shoots, a lot of people think that they need to bring a lot of gear. Your whole studio has to be dragged on location. In this video, I will show you that you can do stuff with very limited amount of gear. You will learn how to light your models. You will learn how to coach your models. And you will see me working with the models. Everything is filmed with different cameras from different viewpoints, so you can see the scene from different view angles. Now, there's also a lot of Q&As in my workshops, so you will also see those in the video. And those are crammed with information. Now, it's our first full HD release, so you can see every little detail going on. And you can also run it on your iPad, iPhone or any other mobile device. Because trust me, with over 2.5 hours of instructional material, you will have to rerun it over and over again because I give you a lot of information. So, do you want to see how to pose models? How to coach your models? How to tell a story to make that simple shot just awesome? Want to see the Photoshop work? Want to see, well, there's so much in there, I can't do that in a few minutes. So just enjoy the video and get Frank DOORhof, Live in New Jersey, Fashion with a Glamour Twist. Adam, very welcome on The DOORhof is Always Open. Now we're at the SWPP.
Yeah.
Now you're teaching here on the same booth that I am, on the Flash Center.
Yeah.
So we're demonstrating Allen-Grom, but you also do something with small flash.
Yes.
So in your demo you go from small flash to the quadras.
Yes.
Now what do you do in normal life?
I use kind of everything. I'm really bad for buying too much gear, and I have too much kit. That's my problem. And it's always, you always never have the right stuff with you. But for me, it's about portability. So I'll use little flashes when that's all I can take. If I'm flying on an aeroplane and you haven't got a lot of room, use little flashes. If you're outdoors and it's bright and sunny, use some of the bigger stuff like the Allen-Grom Rangers or the Quadras. Or I do studio stuff as well. So it's all about having the right kit for the job, really. I use everything.
And what do you like most?
What, in terms of lighting?
Yeah.
I think I do like using the Ranger Quadras because they give you the kind of controllability of a studio lighting. You can put proper modifiers on them, proper softboxes, proper beauty dishes, and they've got decent amount of power, and they're quite small, and you can stick them on an aeroplane. You know, the batteries are okay to put kind of on an aeroplane, and they're pretty powerful, really. They're kind of a mix. I'd always wish they had more power.
Yeah, you also use the lithium ions at the moment?
I've not used them yet, no.
They're amazing.
Yeah,
they're really small. The only thing, and for the people out there watching, if you buy the lithium ions for the Quadras, go on the website from Allen-Grom and you can download the document that you have to have with you when you fly, because otherwise it will be a little bit tricky to get on an airplane. Because if you print out the form, there's no problem, because we were stopped at customs.
Oh yeah.
And say you have lithium-ion batteries with you, and all alarms went off, and you just show the paper, and it says you can fly with it. So if you don't have the paper with you, you have to leave your lithium-ions there. So that's an expensive trip.
Also, like I got the Quadras when they absolutely first came out, because I first saw them and I thought, yeah, these are the things. So I got them straight away, and mine, so the very, very first generation, you kind of have to have some modifications done to them.
Yeah, the display can be a lot brighter, and of course now the lithium-ion. So I would upgrade to the lithium-ion if I were you.
I'll do that, I'll definitely do that.
Yeah, we got it, I think, 2 months ago or 3 months ago, and they're awesome.
Yeah.
So now when you approach a shoot, now a lot of people out there, they do fashion stuff or they do wedding stuff. Now, when you approach a shoot, are you just going in blind, or are you the guy that will prepare everything from the start to the end?
I'd kind of like to prepare things, but that's not really how it works. I mean, mainly I shoot editorial stuff, and I suppose mainly around kind of action sports. So I like to think of myself as a people photographer. I shoot the people around the sport, so people who race motocross or mountain biking or BMX or that sort of stuff. So which often means that you don't get a lot of time with them, and you kind of have to think on your feet. So I always try and go in with a plan, and I usually try and get influenced by something. I try and go to a shoot with a sort of an idea of what I want to do, but then whenever you get there, the location's never what you think it's going to be, the light's never what you think it's going to be, so you really have to think on your feet. And for me, it's about understanding how light works and how you can control and modify it and use the lights, the ambient light, the light of your flashes, the light of, even constant lights, to use those to get a great result. So if you know how light works, the contrast and the intensity and how to modify it, then you can focus on what's important, which is actually the subject and getting something out of them. Yeah. It's almost like a swan that glides along the water, but underneath its kind of feet are going. So your kind of brain is doing all the calculations with I need to put a light here, I need to move that over there, because actually the most important thing is getting something out of the subject. So
what I always say, you can photograph somebody in jeans and tank tops, but you better be a crazy good photographer, because nothing's going on, and as soon as you start finding the story, start finding the styling, then everything gets easier, and you can do it with one light like we do on the booth. Now, when you started out as a photographer, how young were you?
Well, the hobby just started as a hobby, kind of 12 or 13 years old.
12, 13.
Yeah, parents bought me an old Praktica manual film camera.
I love that one. I still have it we have a little display in our studio with all the old cameras, and one of them is a Praktica. I love that camera.
I've got a display of all my old cameras, but I'd had to sell that one when I kind of upgraded, so I actually went and bought one off eBay just to stick on the...
Yeah,
so I'll kind of
nobody will know.
No one will know. I'll pretend it's mine.
I even bought a converter lens to get the old Praktica lenses on my Canon, and then I saw the quality and I never used it again. I was like, this is even worse than I thought. So. Yeah. But Praktica, oh my. So do you still shoot film or only digital?
No, only digital really.
Yeah?
Yeah. I think, I went through I think everyone goes through that phase of, I'm going to shoot a bit of film on a film camera. And then, but for me, the speed I have to do stuff. And, luckily my wife's a retoucher. So if I want it to look a certain way, certain filmic way, I think that kind of gets away with it. But my style doesn't really suit film, I don't think. My style is quite bold and punchy lighting, and it kind of really suits digital, I think. So
what I love to do sometimes is just go buy film and stuck it in the refrigerator and just see when I want to use it, because I still shoot with the RC67 Pro 2 from Amiga, and I love to shoot some film with it. And recently I bought quite a lot of the Impossible Project film. So the instant.
Oh yeah.
And on eBay I bought a Polaroid SX70.
Yes.
And I strongly believe that if you're a photographer out there and you're shooting digital, get an SX70, get some Impossible film, and if you can take a good shot with that, then shoot digital, because that's a whole other different ball game to shoot. Yeah. With digital everything is getting really easy. Now I saw you on stage and you're using a light meter, right?
Yes.
Now why?
Well, there's two reasons, I think. The first reason is it helps you get the exposure right, and you know exactly, if you know what you're doing, and I was brought up on shooting transparency film, so it was one shot, it wasn't even print film where you can kind of get a little bit out and pull it back, it was transparency, so it had to be right, so I had to meter. So, and I've kind of transferred that through. Sometimes if you're in a rush, I do use the histogram and the LCD on the back, but really metering it is good. Second of all, I think if a client's hired you, it's kind of Someone said here, it's the theatre of photography. So if you hire by a commercial client, it's quite nice to have a light meter and a colour checker passport and all the cool stuff that actually does a really good job, but kind of goes, hey, yeah, this is a serious photographer, he knows what he's doing.
I think it's actually ridiculous that you have... I still have clients coming in who see me working with the light meter and go like, what's that? And those are celebrities, they're being photographed a lot.
Yeah.
But the most funny part is that when you shoot a celebrity and everything is set up, and they go like, okay, just take a test shot. No, we don't need a test shot. And the first shot you take in, and they see it on the big screen, they go like, wow, you're a real photographer, because everything comes in. And for me, it's actually shocking, because that means that before that, all the years they've been photographed by people that go like, okay, we'll put the lights like this. No, it's not quite right. Change it like that. Yeah. And that people are getting used to that. It's like going to a surgery. And you see your surgeon before you pass out. You see him looking through a book, surgery for dummies. Let me get that knife. No, no, it's too big. And then you pass out. I think you would be terrified. Yeah. So when you come into a photographer, why should he change the lights over? Like, okay, maybe this will work. Maybe, no, it doesn't work that way. Yeah. I think that's ridiculous. So a light meter, and even on stage, when people see how quick it works, you just point it, and you got your exposure. Exactly. So it's so much fun to see both of you guys, John Denton and you, both using a light meter on the Ellengram booth. Normally I'm the only one. Okay. And in this case, everybody's using it. So I think that's great. Now, actually, this episode is always called the 1 minute tip, and we always go way over. Oh, okay. Now, if you would give one tip, let's do 2 tips. One for the starting photographer who just bought his camera and still thinks that the P mode is for professional. Yeah. What's the tip for the starting professional? Oh, wow. So the starting photographer. I think for that it's probably about composition. So if you're just starting, if you're still on the P mode, you've got a lot of stuff to learn, and that's fine. But I think there's a beautiful simplicity to people who aren't kind of got all the technical stuff in their mind yet, that they can really focus on the photograph and what's really important. And it might not be 100% sharp, and they can learn that, but really learn about composition, learn about kind of the rule of thirds and when to break the rule of thirds. So really use that moment about not being too worried about technology to really focus on what you're taking, because obviously the message you're trying to get across in your photograph and the composition and all those things is actually the really important bit. And I think the photographers, when they move on and start to learn a lot more, sometimes see that the photography bit, the putting the light and the measuring the light, is the photography bit, when it's not. It's actually what the picture looks like. So I'd say for beginners, just really focus on composition. Yeah, and if the story is there and the composition is right, you can get away with a little bit out of focus, make it black and white, and it looks great. And now for the real professionals, the guys who are shooting a few years and they think they know it all. Okay. Well, I always think that a lot of people, the real top guys, they know what they're doing. The guys who are kind of on their way up, the advanced amateurs or the semi-pros, kind of tend to overlight stuff. And I always say, when I do my talks, there's only 2 ways of taking better photographs. Number 1, and I borrowed this from Joe McNally, standing in front of something more interesting. Yeah, without a doubt. Which is great. But number 2... everything Joe says is right. Of course, yeah. He's God. Number 2, photograph the light. So think about photographing the light. But then I actually change it and I go, photograph the shadows. Because I think that too many photographers overlight and try and get rid of shadows. And managing contrast is a technical thing, but pictures with more shadows in them give a bit more depth, a bit more three-dimensionality, a bit more drama or atmosphere. Shadows are the soul of an image. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's nicely put. Yeah. I'm going to steal that, pass it off as my own. Shadows are the soul of an image. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So for the more advanced guys, think about shadows and photographing the shadows. Everybody steals nowadays. A good buddy of mine, I won't mention his name, but it's actually somebody from the States. Okay. And I told him while he was in our studio, I said, if you think you need 2 lights, only use 1. Yes. If you think you need 3 lights, only use 1. Yeah. Now, if you think you need 4 lights, book a workshop with me and I will show you how to properly use 4 lights. So, Rick, this one is for you. Actually, it's Rick Salmon. You know him probably. He has a great following online. Yes. And we had so much fun. And recently we visited him in his home. Yeah. And we still talked about it. But the fun thing is that every photographer I talk to, in essence, they say, start with 1 light. Master that 1 light. And for me, it's master the sun. Yeah. If you can shoot great fashion images in harsh sunlight, then you can move up the strobes.
You know,
and I think nowadays people just buy 3 or 4 strobes.
Yeah.
They paid for it, so they have to use it.
Yes. That kind of hard sunlight thing is I mean, a lot of photographers, when it's a bright sunny day, nuclear overhead sunshine, horrendous contrast, kind of go running, trying to find a bit of shade somewhere. Those are the times when I really like it, because you get more dramatic pictures if you know how to control the light and use the light. And obviously on a bright sunny day you're going to need big reflectors or big lights, but that for me is when you get the most dramatic sort of pictures. And that I always wanted to go, my kind of dream assignment, which I kind of did a few years ago, I wanted to go to Bonneville in America, Bonneville Salt Flats for Speed Week, because it's kind of like the brightest place on earth. Bright blue sky, bright white floor, light bouncing around everywhere, and it's kind of, I thought, I want to go there, I want to go somewhere really bright. And then people must have thought I was mad, because I got to Bonneville, everyone's wearing 2 pairs of sunglasses because it's that light, and I'm getting lights out. But it's about, you could underexpose it and use light creatively, and it was just amazing. I just love bright sunny days. I don't know why I live in England. I should move to California.
Well, we have the big softbox in the sky.
It's
the same in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you so very much.
Okay, thank you.
You still have to teach some master classes today. And let me see, I have to teach some stuff, and we do some more interviews.
Yeah.
And then when we edit everything, it will be online and for our viewers.
Okay.
And I think you can send me some images that we can put in the
Yeah,
interview.
definitely. Yeah, absolutely. Lovely.
Well, thank you so very much.
Thanks very much, mate.
And have fun today.
Thank you.
At the SWPP.
Great, thank you.
Hey John, welcome to the DOORhof is always open.
Thank you very much for inviting me. Much appreciated.
It's great. Now, we're at SWPP in London, right?
Okay.
It's a big trade show and you're doing, together with Adam and me, you're doing stuff on the Flash Center booth.
Absolutely, yes. The Flash Centre have been kind enough to support me in my work for the last couple of years, and I absolutely adore the Ellingham lights, and so any opportunity I get to demonstrate them, it's been absolutely fantastic.
The guys are really nice, right? They're like friends.
Oh, it's a family, and it's a family atmosphere, and that's why I love going on tour with those guys. So yeah, it's been a good show and seen a lot of people.
Now you use Ellingham, and I use Ellingham, and the thing I always like about Ellingham, but also what people a lot ask me is, why did you choose Ellingham? Now for me it's because the modifiers. Because strobes you can buy from every brand. You can buy them from Chinese brands and they're really cheap and they fall apart. You can buy them from Profoto, Broncolor, Hensel. But somehow I just love the Ellingham modifiers. Now, why did you go for Ellingham?
I've always been a strong advocate of small flashes. I love the portability and the freedom of having a small flash unit. And a couple of years ago I wrote a book about using just one speed light. But then I got bored with using one speed light and I thought, I need more light. And the Quadra Ranger packs were the next step forward. And I looked around and I tried various brands and I loved the build quality and that power and that portability of being able to use the same lights in the studio as I use out on location. And like as you say, the modifiers are just superb, the octoboxes, the umbrella kits, the grids, just everything is there. And whether you use the true Ellingham modifiers or some third-party suppliers, the kit is good and you get great quality as well as quantity of light out of those little rascals. I love them.
Yeah, I know. During workshops I'm often sponsored by also sometimes different brands, so you have to use different brands because Ellingham isn't available. And I worked with battery packs that will die in like 80 shots on full power. And I will go like, okay, didn't you charge them fully? Oh yeah, we have some extra batteries. And I'm so used to the Quadra and the Rangers.
Yes.
And they will go like for 300 shots or 360 shots. And as soon as you start going to 50%, actually I never empty them during a shoot. And I always have spare batteries with me because I'm a little bit paranoid. I'm always like, let's say if I need one battery, I will carry 3.
Absolutely.
And I will come home and I go like, next time I will only bring 1 or 2 batteries, and then next time I will bring 3 again. So that's what I really like about them. Now,
but I also love as the power falls off, it's still white light.
Yeah.
You still get white light coming out. And
Yeah.
so even if it's the last shot, it's the same strength and white balance as
It's
the very first one.
Continuity.
Yes.
Constant quality. Now, what do you do in your normal work as a photographer?
In my normal work, it would be very easy for me at the moment to be a full-time trainer of photography. But I'm absolutely passionate about dealing with real people as well as just beautiful models. And so I do a bit of boudoir for real women who want to feel good about themselves. I do model portfolios for people coming into the industry who want to look their best and market themselves into the world of photography. And I still do a few weddings because I do talks about weddings. And even though I've shot weddings for about 10 years now, if I hadn't done at least one real one this year, I would feel such a fraud standing in front of a crowd and going, this is the way to do it, when they look at me and say, well, when did you last do one?
Well, the year is young.
Yeah, it was time yet, yeah. I haven't managed to squeeze one in yet.
I always try to do some weddings, but somehow it's not what I really love to do. On the other hand, it's also something that I do love to do because it trains you to be so incredibly quick. You have to think like in overdrive, because with street photography, if you miss a shot, it's, oh man, I missed that shot, and it's a shame. In a wedding, if you miss the vital shot, it's all vital.
Absolutely.
So I sometimes love to do it, and I also try to squeeze in maybe 2 or 3 weddings a year. But for me, and I don't know if you have the same problem. Recently, somebody asked me, "Can you do a wedding?" And I was like, "Yeah, no problem." And I gave him my price, and they go like, "Well, Frank, actually, we were thinking more in the 250 range." And I said, "Oh, that's no problem at all. For 250,000, I will do it also." They go like, No, I meant 250 euros." And I think that at this time, how do you feel about all the GWCs, guys with cameras, doing weddings for free? Now, how do you market your work in profit of the other one? So let's say somebody comes to you, somebody will do it for 250. What's your standard reply to get the wedding?
It's really difficult times at the moment. I've always lived and worked in a very cash poor area of the country. and so we've never been able to charge a very high amount because the money's just not there. We wouldn't have had clients, we'd have had to travel a lot, and I didn't want to have to travel. But we're fortunate in that we've built the brand around word of mouth. And so it's very rare we get the question now, how much is your wedding? The question is usually, are you free because you did my friend's wedding? Yeah. Or I've heard about your services, so are you free? And I find that is the best way to sell, because then whether you're charging 5,000 or 500, they've already made that decision to buy you roughly before they've made the phone call.
Build branding.
Yes. And so building a brand first, getting that in place. And it's difficult when you start out, for sure. And we see, people coming into the business, and if you start offering a wedding for free or at $50, people are always going to see you as a $50 photographer. But equally, you feel so vulnerable going out there and saying, hey, I'm worth 5,000, I can do a wedding, yeah. And so it's somewhere in between the two lines, and that's why we like to work with photographers coming into the business and try and give them the best advice and the best leg up so that they can start. And if we're all at a good level, it keeps the whole business running better. So it's best for all of us.
What I always say to photographers is, if you charge a penny, you can never go for two. Yes. So if you really want to do a wedding or a photo shoot for a penny, what I would say is just label yourself as, and I will take realistic prices, let's say €500. And this month there's a 50% discount.
Yes.
Because people will go like, oh, normally it's 500, now it's 250. And I have photographer friends of mine who are in constant 50% discount mode.
Yes.
But people will see it, and then as soon as they say, okay, now I feel that I'm really worth the 500, then they will start doing discounts 25%, 10%, and then they're on full price. But if you start out with 250, and we now have the internet.
Yes.
I still have, for our company, we have some prices online. And of course we change the prices over the years because of inflation and because we do different stuff.
Yeah.
But there are still people registering for workshops. Yeah, I want to do the workshop, and they charge or they quote a price that's like 4 years old. Because I read it on a forum that you teach workshops for that price. I said, yeah, that's 4 years ago. We now do totally different workshops, and we charge €50 more. We only raised €50 in, I believe, 6 years' time for the workshops. But we did first workshops with 15 people in our studio, and now we brought it down to 8 people.
Yes.
Because they have a much better interaction, so we raised the price by €50. But they will still see those prices because on forums or whatever, the prices stay there. So the advice I give is take a reasonable price that's market conform, and then just work with discounts via Facebook or Twitter.
Yeah.
Now, we have a lot of viewers that are professional photographers, and we have a lot of viewers that are professional photographers because they still think that the P mode is professional. So, as a joke, they're the beginners. Now, if you would have given 2 tips, 1 tip for the professional photographers and 1 tip for the beginner, what would be the perfect beginner tip for you?
The perfect beginner's tip is, and I guess it's almost the same tip for both levels, is don't chase kit. Cameras, lighting will never make you a better photographer. Get to understand the craft of photography, the light of photography, the sumptuous of relating to a subject to make them feel good about themselves, that beautiful one-on-one relationship you get with a subject in front of your camera. Once you start understanding that, photography starts to become easy, and then get the kit that will support you in the way that you shoot and your style. And so I see, photographers at the amateur level with kit that's worth way more money than the stuff that I use. And I think, why have you spent all that? You could have had a day's training with Frank for that, even at your €50 extra, and had a really class entertainment and education rather than spending money on the kit. And likewise for professionals, again, it's so easy to wander around the trade shows and get so excited about shiny things, new, must have.
Oh, we're boys.
That will make me great pictures. Yes, get the right kit. It will help you with getting better pictures. But keep the money in the business, keep that cash flow there, because being self-employed in the world of photography can be very up and down, and you're reliant on people booking you, no clients, no food. It can be so scary at times.
Correct.
So don't spend all the money on new kits, keep some in the business, invest in your training, invest in your light, and then find the ways to use the cameras the way you want to use them, and you'll find the camera that's good for you.
Yeah, I always say to people, start out with Polaroid, and as soon as you start with the Polaroid and you get a great picture, then move to digital, because then you start to stop spray and pray, but you start taking pictures. So I think that's the best advice anybody can give.
Yeah.
So John, I would thank you very much for your interview.
Thank you very much.
And we'll put it online. The DOORhof is always open. And for you guys, check out John's work at the website you see now below. Hey guys, and welcome in the beautiful Hattem. Now, who doesn't know where Hattem is, right? Well, it's a little place in the Netherlands. And as you can already see, I feel like I'm smuggling clothes because I'm like 3 layers thick on clothing because it's really, really cold. Now, today we're in an abandoned pool. And we're going to do a photo shoot for our friends of Whair. And Whair are some crazy hairdressers. They have the most amazing ideas about photo shoots. And we've been working with them together for, I think, about 2 or 3 years now. So today we have different setups, and the themes are love and revolution. And we have several gear with us, of course the Ellington Rangers and Quadras. We have some smoke machines with us, colored gels, and we're going to do the photo shoot here today. Now the camera I'm using is the Sony Alpha 99 with the size 24-70, and for the special occasion I also have a Sigma with me, the 12-24. So in this video I'm going to take you backstage during the photo shoot for Whair Hair Creations. So I hope you enjoy it, and let's see the photo shoot. Okay, for the first setup we have a model and she has really nice blonde hair. She's going to be on the stairs and I'm using 2 rangers, one here, one upstairs. The maxi light with the grid, and upstairs we have a normal reflector without any grid that will give some detail in the hair. Of course when you do hair you will move around your model because you can control your contrast that way. So we will start out with the model looking into the light source, and after that we will do some shots from besides. And one of the main advantages in this case, if you see with the staircase there, it's very difficult to move around. So this is why I really like the Sony, because now I have the flip down screen and I can really make sure that when I shoot up top I can still see what I'm doing. So let's look at this setup and then we go on to the next one. Okay, for this setup, we're going to do a little bit of an Olympic theme. So we have one of the models standing up front there, and we will have 2 side lights, 1 Quadra, 1 Ranger, and 1 main light, which is also the Ranger with the maxi light with the grid. So it's going to be a little bit of an Olympic theme. So they're going to be on the diving board, looking straight into the camera, almost diving down. Of course, we won't let them dive down because, well, there's no water in the pool. So that will make a mess. So for the next setup, we're going to use that setup. following setup, I'm going to use these pillars, and I really like the way that they go really into the distance. And we're going to have one model, and it's about the hair. So I'm going to shoot a wide aperture, only one strobe. In this case, the Ranger, with a maxi light and a grid. Now, what a lot of people also ask me, how do you work on location? Because you always shoot tethered. Well, I love to shoot tethered because at that time you can really see your images coming into your computer, and you can check together with your client if everything is okay. And if you're really smart, you can also use iPhones and iPads to transfer all the images straight to the iPad, so people who are in slightly warmer areas can also watch. Now, on location, when you shoot tethered, people will always step on your cables and they will pull the cable out of your camera. Now, in the old days, that was not a real big problem. However, nowadays, when you pull your cable out, you have a very high risk of damaging your camera inside. Now, for example, for these cameras, the repairs are in about the 450 euros. So that's a lot of money. Now, what I use to prevent this is the so-called Tether Tools jerk stopper. Now, it's a little device that's on my camera, and it will make the camera a lot more sturdier, and it will not pull out the cable that easily. Now, on the computer, I use the Tether Tools table, including a hook to hang my light meter from, and of course the secure strap to make sure that my laptop is right on the space. Now, I also have a mat on the tether table so my laptop won't slip off. Oh, and one more final tip. Now, when you are shooting tethered, a lot of people will use duct tape to tape this down. Don't do that. Leave this open, because if you leave this open and somebody will stand on your cable, the only thing that will happen is this will come loose and you will lose your images. Now, losing your images may sound like a big problem, but it isn't, because you can always shoot the images again. Now, if you tape this too tight, what will happen is, or somebody will pull the camera out of your hands and the camera will fall on the ground, or even worse, the laptop will fall on the ground. So if you're shooting tethered, make sure don't duct tape this together, because it has to come loose. And again, if you lose your images, no problem at all, you can shoot them again. But if your camera falls or your laptop, well, you can go home. So let's go to the next setup. And again, one Ranger, maxi light with a grid. So now one of the things that you might think is, because we're shooting a lot of images near the pillars, is that every image will look the same. Now when you move around your model, or if you change your light around the model, you will see in the final images that you have a lot of different looks. So this is one of the things that I always say on location. Don't stop shooting on location if you think I have one angle of light, I have one model, and this is it. Move around your model, move your lights, and maybe add a second light like we did later on by lighting the ceiling or the background, and you can have many, many different shoots on just one location. So when you're on location, maximize the number of shots you can take by moving around your lights and moving around your model. So let's go to the next set. Now for this next setup, we have an amazing location. We have like a corridor with all kinds of little lockers, and we're going to use a lot of smoke. One strobe on the back. In this case, it's going to be a Ranger. And for the later shoots, where we remove the gel, because we're going to shoot it with a red gel to give it a really sci-fi look. And later on, we're going to change it for a Quadra to give it a little bit of just a fill-in flash. And together with the smoke, you get some amazing effects. Now, I strongly believe smoke is the magical ingredient. If you have a location that's okay, put a little smoke in it and you will transform it to something amazing. So for the light setup, very simple. One light in the back. We start out with the Ranger and later we change it for the Quadra for a little bit less power, and one Ranger in front. And we're going to move the lights around to create different looks. And at the end of the video, you will see the final results. And you can see that in one location, you can make a lot of different shoots. So let's go and let's start shooting. Hey, for the next setup, we're in a very cool space. This is the engine room of the pool. Now, we have two male models and they're gonna be there. And it's a really dark hole now, but we're gonna light it up and I'm gonna use one Quadra and one Ranger. Now, the Ranger will be the main light on the male models and the Quadra will be the accent light. Now, I choose the Quadra because I can use one channel that has a really low output. And because it's a very tight space, I have to place my lights really close to the models. And the Quadra really is great for this because if you use it on the one channel, you can really go down in output. Of course, again, we're going to use smoke to create a little bit of a scene. Hey, we're here with the final setup for Whair hair creations, and this one is going to be special. Now, if you've seen my class on Kelby training, it's called The Art of Dance. You saw that we did something with flour. Now we're going to do something a little bit similar, but we're going to do it with pigment paints. So don't try this at home, because it will stain in your clothes. So now, without kidding, you can wash it off. So the model will be standing there in the pool, and we have 2 light setups. And I'm going to use them both together. So first, I'm only going to shoot with the Quadra and the Maxi light. And later on, I'm going to add the 2 Accents lights. And for me, it's very, very difficult to know in advance what I'm going to like most, because I also have my client. For myself, I think I would like the 2 Accent lights and the main light. So we're going to throw with some pigment paints, and after that, I let my client decide which shoot she wants. Now, when you shoot for a client, it's always very important to take this into mind, because sometimes your personal preference will be different from the client. So if you have the option to shoot with both light setups at the same time, and that's the nice thing about the Yellengrom system, because I can use Group A and Group B. So I can switch very quickly on the Skyport between 1 light or all 3 lights. So for your client, always shoot 2 setups or maybe 3, just how flexible you are, so she can choose afterwards. The clients will love you for this. So without further ado, let's bring in the models and let's throw some paint. Now, the first shot we always take during a photo shoot is with the X-Rite Color Checker Passport. In Lightroom or the standalone version, you can very easily create a custom profile for your camera. Now, you remember that you have to calibrate your monitor, right? And that makes a huge difference. Now, when you use a color checker, it's actually about the same thing. So what you're actually doing is you're calibrating your camera to get the correct colors for every setup. Now, what we do is, when it's really important, every light setup we change, we shoot 1 image with the color checker, because the profile, well, it's done in about maybe 1 or 2 minutes. And it's done in Lightroom via plugin. So the X-Rite Color Checker Passport, it's great to get your colors right. And every photo shoot, the first image, take it with the X-Rite. So, are you ready? My assistant is now holding the color checker. Let's take a shot. And then we're done.